Welcome to Two Deep Hokies Under the Influence, a Sons of Saturday podcast. I'm your host, Pete B. I've got my co-host, Sam Jesse here. Basketball season has come to an end, Sam. It is in some ways a relief, in some ways very, very depressing. We're going to talk about last night, going to talk maybe a little bit about UVA and kind of give our overall thoughts on the basketball season. But that's not all we're going to do tonight. We are going to talk about the championship team that resides in Blacksburg, and that is our wrestling team. I'm going to have my buddy Brian on, old friend from Virginia Tech, going to come on. He's been on the show a couple times, but he knows the wrestling team inside and out. He's going to help us with that. And then an in-season mini baseball preview later in the show as well. Sam Jesse is our baseball expert, so we're going to be bringing that to you. Big show, a lot of stuff coming tonight. I know it's off-season for football and now off-season for basketball, but we got a packed show, dude. Give us a cheers.
Is there anything else to cheers other than ACC champions back to back for the wrestling program in dominant fashion too? Like it wasn't close particularly. And I think they had 4 guys win individual. Am I correct? 5 individual. 5. Well, I am selling them short. 5 individual ACC champions. What they've done with that program is so spectacular because they are almost entirely self-sufficient at this point.
Yeah.
And they've done it with a really good coach, and they continue to recruit, and they're winning in the transfer portal. And this year is supposed to be a punt, but this was like a vintage Iowa punt, like pin them inside the 10 and play some defense, boys, because that's a hell of a season for a punt. Cheers.
Cheers, dude. Make sure to like the video and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Find us on your favorite podcast app if you don't like YouTube, but switch on over to YouTube too. Sometimes it's easier to interact with us, put some comments out there. You can comment on Spotify, and I do check those, but we're always checking the comments on YouTube. So please hop in there whenever you want. Basketball finished the year 19-13 after losing to UVA over the weekend and losing last night in overtime in round 1 of the ACC tournament. No Amani Hansberry, which we saw him go down at the end of UVA. It was hoping beyond hope that we would see him again this season. And in the second half, they weren't even making any bones about it. He was just sitting there in a t-shirt.
Yeah, it was not funny, but in the ACC pregame show, they were showing Virginia Tech warming up, and Amani Hansberry was like well at midcourt in sweats, like clapping on everybody. And they were like, we don't know if he's going to play tonight.
Yeah.
Like not looking like like the guy limping wearing street clothes is probably not going to play in the game that his team's warming up for.
And
yeah,
I was kind of referring to the breaking news. I think it was from West Durham. He's like, it looks like Amani Hansberry's not going to play tonight. It's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you.
But we had a chance to win it in regulation. Ball couldn't find the bucket. We were constantly having to fight back in this game, though, Sam. And it made for, like, in the beginning, I was dejected. It was similar to the beginning of UVA, where it's like, come on, we're going to do this again. But then we fought back. We tied the game. We got a lead. Little bit of back and forth. Ultimately, Wake Forest just kept making shots, and we were always just like one step too slow, it felt like.
Yeah, I think you give some credit to Wake Forest because I do think they could have crumbled there a couple different times, and they always seem to get the big offensive rebound or make the big shot. When Virginia Tech was making their first big push in the first half, Wake Forest went 3 of their next 4 from 3-point land to kind of keep a little bit of distance in that. And that was a really important stretch for the Demon Deacons. And then as the second half wore on, Virginia Tech was clearly looking like the better team. Wake Forest would always get like one big shot. They'd get to the free throw line. They would get an offensive rebound put back. Like they did that time and time again. And so much, we're going to talk about the end of the game, but Virginia Tech didn't score a bucket until like 16 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first half. You went well over 3.5 minutes of the game without scoring your first bucket. You can't do that. It's not
what happened at the beginning of UVA. It was 17-3.
I mean, 40 minutes is such a small amount of time for a game. And to spend 3 of those minutes and do nothing, it puts so much pressure on the rest of the game. And that's a big reason why the end of games have been so heart-wrenching for
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, is because well before that during the game, you would go 3, 4, 5 minutes without making a basket. So another frustrating game for Virginia Tech.
As I said before, we had tied it up and we even had a 2-point lead with 2 minutes left. Where have we heard something like this before? A
Add it to the
lead
list. Yep.
with a couple minutes left. But what do you know? We lost that lead. There was the dead ball flagrant on Toby, which was extremely consequential and disappointing because
Mhm.
multiple guys were open on that. We had all the missed layups. You were texting me about the missed layups earlier today.
Yeah, I think in the under 4 minutes, Virginia Tech missed 8 shots that would be categorized as a layup, which I believe the way that the official stats counts a layup as like player moving towards the basket within 4 feet of the basket. Tech missed a bunch of those in the game. And it just
What did you
Wake
think about the final play to Hammond?
the Ben okay. Um, I thought 2 things. 1, I think Ben Hammond is awesome, and I think if I had to pick a guy to have the ball in his hand, he's the guy. I also think we had seen that movie before, and it ended pretty poorly at Miami, and you saw that he just kinda went head down to the bucket and didn't really look to pass the ball, didn't really look for the best shot, and then he kinda did the same thing in this one. You almost got away with it because of
Bedford?
the putback that somehow didn't go. I don't know how that putback doesn't go in, and the cruel, cruel irony of that in the Ahmed Hill shot in
Mm.
the Sweet 16 being virtually identical. Uh, those are killers, but I understand getting the ball to your best player on the court right there. Um, I I think that is something that if Mike Young's to look back on this season and look at the things that went wrong, I think one of them would be when he absolutely needed a bucket, the only guy he really felt like he could trust was like a 5'11" point guard,
Yeah. And that's
and that's
not
going into the
disrespectful to Ben
trees.
Hammond. That's
No, but
just
it's a matter of physics at that point.
yeah.
Like a
If
5'11"
you're
guy going to make a shot over a 6'7", 6'10" guy.
when they
It's
know, like when you're
when they know
dribbling it out
exactly
and
what
they
the play
know
is
that
gonna be.
you're gonna drive to the hole, if you're not Allen Iverson making those moves to get that bucket, to get that ball up and in, like it's such a challenge. And
Yeah,
that's where we needed our 5-star freshman. Like at the beginning of the year, we thought that ball would be going to Neo. Like we thought
yeah,
at the end of Miami, at the end of this game, all these clutch moments, the 6'9" guy with long arms who could shoot it over people, it
and can
would go to him.
pass.
But that was a huge storyline in this thing. So we missed that. I want to come back to that a second.
Okay.
We missed the bucket at the end. Tie game goes to OT. OT was just we were kind of dead. Like it started bad. It didn't get better. Um,
Kept getting it to within 2 points,
yeah.
and Wake Forest kept making shots. I think the legs left them in that game. That's when, which I'm sure we'll get into, not having Hansberry and Neo not playing after the under 8 timeout, you're basically down 2 starters now at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and it you can't ask guys to play that much. They looked a little slow, and Wake Forest made some shots, and um, I think missing that putback was such a gut punch that the momentum did feel like it swung to Wake Forest because Wake Forest dodged a bullet there.
And I'm a fool because that was the perfect end of game situation. You have it tied, so you can't lose, and there was plenty of time to get a play, get a guy open, pass it to shoot in the corner, whatever it would have been. And when it didn't go, it was exactly it was a gut punch because it was like that was the time.
Especially since you know Mike Young has a Rolodex of wide open backdoor cut for a layup plays,
And
and
I
we just
wonder,
don't see them.
well, they talked about it on the broadcast. Like if anyone knows those plays, it's Steve Forbes and maybe coach was trying to throw him off the scent by not doing one of them. Like I've overthought this, Sam, over the past
Yeah.
12 to 16 hours.
And at
But
those moments, it's players over plays,
I know.
right? Yeah.
So Ben Hammond was great. 23 points.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was
three
freaking
of 4
awesome.
from 3, 2 steals. I mean, him and Bedford were they gave it their all. And they were
Had
why
clutch free throws too.
Yeah.
At the end of regulation, Ben Hammond, Jalen Bedford, Toby Lawal, all guys who had missed clutch free throws earlier in the year, they all stepped up and bottom of the barrel for their free throws. Yeah.
Neo
Sucks.
wasn't on the floor, as you said, for the final 7 minutes and 37 seconds of the second half, and then all of overtime as well. That was telling. Just 5 points for Neo, 1 of 5 from 3, 1 rebound, and 3 turnovers. 30 minutes, 5 points, 1 rebound. I mean, it was a terrible performance, an absolutely terrible performance.
It was totally different than how he had ended the season. And I think, on our last show, Pete, the last time we talked on air, it was like, hey, Virginia Tech's not a team you want to see in tournament play right now because Neo Abdallah seems to be figuring it out.
Yep.
And it's like he forgot all of it in this game. And it kind of leads to an issue Virginia Tech has had all season where not a lot of guys who thrive in high pressure scenarios, it looks like.
No, and some of that has to be learned. And we are a younger-ish team. I mean, especially if you factor in a guy like Neo playing his first year of college basketball, Dorn too, Gerdak, you got a sophomore in Johnson and Hammond. Sure, there are some veterans. Hansberry, Lawal, Bedford. And Bedford was reliable. Hansberry was quasi-reliable down the stretch of ACC
the
play.
issue with Hansberry, the issue they had with Hansberry is like he'd come out of the locker room with 4 turnovers. And like there never seemed to be anything reliable about this team on a night-to-night basis that Mike Young could lean on.
And Toby falls victim. I mean, is to blame, I should say, because Toby was not reliable. He would have games where he's 17 and 15 and pulls down a bunch of boards, and the highlight dunk at the beginning of last game, like that's the best of Toby. But there's also the defensive lapses. There's the crazy fouls. There's just an unreliability, inconsistency to his game. And I appreciate him being a Hokie and giving us the highlights that he gave us. But like, it's just a fact that he wasn't a guy, as you said before, like it's not a guy you can trust at the end of a game to go get your bucket. He's not.
And it's, you're looking at this team, you're like, okay, who is? Like, I think the best bet, if Neo's not going to be on the floor and you're not going to use that mismatch, because if you run a play where it is either you go get to the bucket or you drive and kick, Neo's got to be that guy for the drive and kick. And if you don't have him on the floor and you need a shot creator, Bedford's probably your guy. And we never saw Bedford get the rock in those situations this year.
Did we ever want Neo with the ball in his hands in those last 5 minutes, though? Because he is a turnover machine in pressure situations.
You're absolutely correct. What sucks is that shouldn't be the case.
I know.
Like he's the exact archetype of the player who you want in that situation. If you were to go into a lab and create a basketball player that is, if I have 17 seconds left on the clock in a tie game and I want a guy to just work off a pick and pop or pick and roll, who's the guy? You would build Neo Avdalas. The issue is they haven't been able to rely on that guy they've had on the bench all year long to do that. And I feel for Mike Young. He's getting a lot of heat for this season, and deservedly so, right? It's a results-oriented business, and the results have not been there. But, like, man, there is not a lot of dudes in orange or maroon he could trust in those situations.
No. And that leads us to the bigger picture of this season overall. And I think we both view this season as a bit of a failure. to varying degrees. Like, is it a huge failure? Is it just a straight up failure? But in the sense that this was projected to be a tournament team by most, it failed that metric. And we weren't even strongly on the bubble. We needed a win last night and a win today to have maybe a chance to get in. And so we fell pretty far short.
Bubble.
With perhaps the weakest bubble in NCAA tournament history. And I go look it up. Like, if you go to any of the people that measure this stuff, this bubble is as weak as it could possibly get. And we still missed the tournament with one of our more talented teams in recent memory.
And you also lost to a lot of teams who were also on the bubble. You lost to SMU. You lost to VCU, crushed you. Stanford beat you in your own house. SMU beat you. And those are really unfortunate. And unfortunate, I put that in quotes in terms of it sucks. But
what do you attribute the failures to? And I'll give you 3 options, and you can tell me what mixture you.
Okay.
Bad luck, bad coaching, bad roster building.
I'm gonna. Okay, so here's my thing with saying bad luck. Like, when a guy on the other team scores a lot of points in basketball, that's not bad luck. Like, the entire purpose of the game is to put the ball in the hoop. It's not unlucky when the other team does that, right? Like, that's kind of the whole point. Bad luck, yes, in terms of, I think a lot of high variance plays went against Virginia Tech.
And injuries. Which is luck related, I would say.
Luck related. Everybody gets injuries. I think Virginia Tech actually adapted to the injuries pretty well. Yes. All things considered.
I mean, we lost 3 different starters at 3 different points of the season.
Because of option C, which was roster construction. Anytime your coach goes into a season saying we're not very good at shooting the basketball, that's not a good sign. That's pretty important.
We should remember that red flag going forward.
Yeah, let's remember that one. And look, I was a friend of the program, Cam Lamons DeBro, who covers Wake Forest sports really well. I was messaging with him, and we were talking about Pasha, and it was like, yeah, Wake Forest went out to the portal and got a guy in Akins, who was a conference freshman of the year. He was playing at Denver. Got him. He was a good role player for them all year, averaging like 6 points a game. And he kind of went off last night in that game. He had his game of the year. And Virginia Tech's all-conference freshman that they went out, and they paid double what Wake Forest offered him. He never really saw the court in ACC play because they couldn't trust him to not turn the ball over every time he touched it.
So that contributes to the roster building.
That's going to be tough when one of the like Virginia Tech last night, I would say, and I don't have all the numbers in front of me. I'm not going to pretend to know them verbatim, but for the last 7.5 minutes plus overtime of the game last night, Virginia Tech did not have their 3 highest paid players on the court. That's a combination of luck, coaching, and roster build. And
I still think
3 of those things were not good enough this year.
Correct. I still think the fact that our day 1 starters had 1 ACC game where they all played 15 plus minutes, which was the UVA game, because Tyler Johnson actually played 15 minutes in the UVA game. He played the bare minimum of the metric I just created. Like, we didn't have a single ACC game where all 5 of our preseason starters played 20 minutes. You know,
and the reason
it didn't happen,
Tyler Johnson got hurt because he was still having to play in an overtime game against Elon because Neo Avdalis was hurt for that game.
Well, Neo was sick or something.
Sick, yeah.
And Dorn was out, and who else? Toby was out. So, yes, we had to, because of one injury, like, we basically led to another injury. And maybe Amani had too many miles, and that's why he ended up, I'm just spitballing.
We're not doctors. We're not doctors.
But yes, bad luck injuries, bad luck end of game situations. Like a half court shot going in, I think is
that's luck. That's luck. I'll tell you, that's luck. Yeah. But like
and
the Stanford,
a lot of like, how about the referees the last two nights? Last two games. Like, I know it's not cool to complain about referees, and we have not done it too much this year. We really haven't. But I swear to God, these games have been brutal with the referees.
That last night was 5 points attributable to the refs, because you had Shoot got absolutely clobbered on his 3-point shot to end the half, and they got no call. Everyone at the gym was surprised about that. And then you have a flagrant on a swim move with the guy who's in the cylinder defending Toby that ends up as 2 free throws on the other end when you had a baseline out of bounds. So that's 5 points right there in a game that went to overtime. That was pretty egregious. That was a poorly officiated game. That sucks. I just go back to like the Stanford game. Like, that's not luck. They have a guy who's shooting hot. Like, you got to put a body on him outside.
That
right?
Probably was poor coaching at the end of Stanford. Yeah, like, and you can go to any of these buckets that I gave you to like find a percentage, but like, it wasn't. No one did their job all the way right this year. The players, the coaching staff, the GM who is no longer with the team. Coach Young in this program, to kind of close out some of these thoughts. I put out a video after the game last night on the front porch, summing up my thoughts, some of them on the season and going forward. This was after several beers, but it was honest and hopeful. It did end hopeful for next year. Some of this conversation will overlap. Ed Williams, my co-host over at Hokie Hoops, has been steadfast in the fight for Mike Young, the case for Mike Young as being the right coach for us right now, whatever. And the crux of his argument is really about program funding and how we were underfunded last season. We're still underfunded this season. A lot of the teams we lose to have higher payrolls. And this season, we were much more respectable, like with the money, but still towards the bottom of the league. We know money's a huge piece of college athletics at this point. We're not shying away from that conversation. We may have been better equipped to handle some of the injuries if we had paid more for a bench. But what flies in the face of that, Sam, is what you said earlier, that Neo and Pasha, two of our highest paid acquisitions, weren't on the floor at the end of the most critical game of the season.
Yeah. And nor should they have been, to be honest with you. Mike Young said at the end of the post game, he was like, yeah, he just wasn't playing good enough for us right there.
So it leads me to two related questions. Will more money absolutely address all of the issues we have on this team?
Okay. My answer to that is something that I think is a big worry for me for Virginia Tech men's basketball. And that is the perception amongst the fan base, because where we are at as an athletic department, a lot of our big donorship is going towards football, will go towards football, and probably should go towards football. And so now you have a few big donors that are going to be invested in men's basketball because they're basketball fans, and that's great. I can't wait for that. And I think Virginia Tech is going to be more financially equipped next year than they are this year. But when it comes to the grassroots funding that you also need to layer on top of those big donors, right now the mood amongst the fan base is, hey, we've been very disappointed with this basketball program for 3 consecutive seasons, most of all this season. And now you're going to run it back with the same crew. Mm-hmm. Why are we going to continue to spend our money here and invest in something that has been a disappointment year after year after year? That's a really big issue for a team who is also now trying to invest in NIL, football. Now you're going to ask them to do basketball too. They're not going to. Now you're reliant on your big donors who you are mostly pulling in the direction of football as well. This is a really bad time for Virginia Tech men's basketball, not to be enjoyable for the fan experience. And this was a very miserable season if you were a Virginia Tech fan.
And you know what? Our guest, Brian, I can see him in the green room right now. And he said this to me last night in a text. Like, this team is not fun to watch. Like,
no, they're not.
It's not like a stomach ache watching this team.
It's really not. And I like we both watch pro basketball a little bit. I'm a VCU fan as well, and like, dude, watch how VCU plays basketball, and then watch how Tech plays basketball, and you tell me which one is better to watch as a fan. Like, it's the style of play and the way that they handle games is so infuriating. I think they have a perception problem amongst Virginia Tech fans.
Well, so the question that led to that whole conversation was, will more money absolutely address our issues? And the answer is no, because if you don't
Probably
hit
not.
your evals, you're not, more money's not going to, you could be Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher. You could be the last 20 years of Miami football. You can have all
You
the
beat
money
Texas
you want.
A&M under Buzz Williams.
But Coach Young is clearly a good developer when having guys year over year, but he does seem to have an issue getting the most out of guys in year one. And we've seen that with talented freshmen that have left the program. We've seen that in year one of transfers that haven't worked in either in their first year and then left, or in their first year and then got better in their second year. And then there's been the straight up eval misses. And we've mentioned Heiser Miller, and some of that's because of talent itself in Isaiah Pasha, or some of that's because of system fit like Neo. Because I, there are different ways to miss on the eval.
Yeah, and I think you have to do better than hitting 500.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And unfortunately, I think that's what they're hitting. And for me, as just the pure fan perspective of this, it's felt very toxic. Like, every single game has felt like just, miserable as a fan. And I feel like it's like being in a toxic relationship with somebody, and you put so much effort into it and you don't really know why you keep doing it, but also that person you're putting it in, like, isn't that hot, and you don't really know what the ceiling of that is, and you're like, wait, I'm putting a whole lot of effort here to be like banging a 6. Like, we need to, like, the whole thing needs to be reevaluated here. And I don't think, like, going out and paying for an extra guy on the end of your bench is going to do it. I think there are organizational issues that Virginia Tech men's basketball has that they need to address this offseason, because there's a lot of guys in Hurst that really know basketball and they know X's and O's. Organizationally, they have failed year after year after year, and they need to address that this offseason, or else they're going to be in a really, really bad spot. They're going to be in a James Johnson era spot pretty quickly.
We're welcoming in Brian, my old friend from Virginia Tech, into the show. Brian, thank you for being here. We're kind of finishing up our conversation on basketball, and I wanted to get your opinion as well, because I know you were watching the game last night. And I had asked Sam about, will more money solve all our problems? But the second question that all of this season has kind of led to is Mike Young right for the NIL era? I think that is kind of where this is all going. It's not as if anyone thinks he's a bad basketball coach necessarily. It's more of, is he right for basketball in 2026, 2027?
I mean, it's hard to say. I assume we had a lot of money tied up with Neo, and that just didn't work out for us. When you look at the game last night, I think you posted it. It was a different team with him off the court, and it took nearly all season for Mike to move away from him that early in the second half, and the team just responded. I don't think it's an evaluation issue. It just I can't imagine that was less than 25% of our NIL money was tied up with Neo.
Yeah, and that's kind of goes back to the eval thing before, Sam, is that, like, if you take a big swing like that on a stud freshman, and then you also bring in, a freshman of the year from the CAA and Pasha, and they both don't work, like, Virginia Tech can't win like that. We can't afford that big of misses in our payroll, so to speak.
There's a finite amount of resources, and you use them all on something that doesn't create value for you. It's tough. And unfortunately, like, we're in an era of college basketball that you can't miss in a year, because then that leads to missing in the next year and the next year and the next year. And I just think this was a really pivotal year for the program, and they just swung and missed on a few too many occasions.
I've said it multiple times on Hokie Hoops that I think the program does need a reset. It needs to modernize. And this is what Sam's just been saying. And that will happen eventually. Now, because of the football piece of this and because James Franklin is keeping Whit Babcock exceedingly busy attending to his every need, but it will happen eventually. And Coach Young's going to be here next year. I mean, that's essentially the reporting that's coming from Berman. I believe Chris Coleman was talking about an extension was possibly signed on TSL last week. So he's going to be here. And all of the negativity, all of the bad stuff, all the bad luck that happened this year, if you are to bring back the core of this team, Hammond in year 3, Johnson in year 3, Amani, Gerdak for year 2, possibly Bedford if he gets more eligibility, and even potentially Abdallah. I wouldn't expect Neo to be here, but shoot, if you keep all these guys around, grab a couple more pieces in the portal, then you have a very developed old school Mike Young mold, and you could do some damage. And these close losses may turn into close wins. Are you able to get excited about that, Brian? As kind of I know you follow the team, but maybe not as close as you used to. Like, can you get excited about if we were to bring all these guys back from this year?
Is an extra year going to allow us to defend teams driving right to the hoop and get easy buckets nearly every possession? I hope so. But as these players get better, I mean, if they're so good, are we going to be able to retain them?
Are we going to be able to retain them?
I
that's a good question.
Enough financial backing to have.
That's the thing. It's like, yes, we believe we can bring these guys back because maybe they're here, and that gives you a little bit of, hometown discount type thing. But yeah, it's all a question. Like, yeah, we hope we can bring all these guys back because that's what's best for Mike Young and our prospects going forward. Bringing outside guys in and trying to work them into a system in one off season doesn't seem to be the way it's going to work for Virginia Tech until we have a new regime in Han Hurst. And so that's the best we can hope for. I don't know if the fans at large, Sam, can get excited about it or not, but I do think it would lead to winning.
Yeah, you don't have the culture built up like you do for football over years. You got to win some games to get people excited. And I think next year they're going to have to win back a portion of the fan base next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let me take a second before we get to wrestling. That's what we brought Brian in for, to tell you about Roback. You guys know Roback, the performance activewear designed for those who crave activity. I've got some images here of the latest one they just put out. This is I think it's called the Virginia Tech Hokie, very original name, but you can see the Virginias if you're watching on YouTube and the traditional VT logo. It's a beautiful, beautiful garment. This, and I think they are up to like 7 or 8 different designs for polos now. They're all awesome. Use code 2DEEPVT to get 20% off your first order over at Roback. We love them. Great to play golf in. I know it just got warm. And Brian's, have you been on the golf course yet, Brian, this year?
No, not yet.
No, not yet. I saw some of my neighbors cutting out of work today and hit it up. We were about 80 degrees here in New Jersey, but go to roback.com, load up your cart, and use code 2DEEPVT to get 20% off your order. Brian, are you drinking anything tonight?
Yeah, gin and tonic.
I wasn't expecting that. That sounds refreshing. Sam, how about you?
Oh yeah, so I got a good one. I got some new stuff. There is a small marketplace a few blocks from my apartment that has an incredible beer selection. And this one is Moon Farmer, an India Pale Ale. It is by Westkill Brewing in Westkill, New York. Really cool can. Has like a fox and a moon.
I like that.
Running. It's pretty sick. It's really good. I didn't know what I was getting into because I had literally picked 3 random beers that I had never seen before. And it's this beautiful pale, it doesn't look too hazy, and that you go with a lot of IPAs, even ones that don't say hazy IPA or West Coast IPA. Sometimes they're just brewing a hazy and not putting it as the marketing. This is a true India Pale Ale that is crisp like a pale ale you would expect, but has the hoppiness as well. Really good stuff. I will try to do some more research on it for next time because I didn't really look up this brewery or anything like that. But this is delicious, dude. Like we're
Nice.
bordering 4 on an
And
IPA.
did you say, yeah, okay. Very nice. Very nice. That
The
sounds
Moon
delicious.
Farmer from Westkill Brewing.
I'm keeping it simple tonight. I drank maybe a little too much for the game last night, so I'm just going to have this traditional Mexican Pilsner known as
Mind if a
Modelo.
white boy speaks a little Espanol tonight.
God forbid a white boy gets some motion. Here we go. All right, wrestling. Let's do it. Virginia Tech wins the ACC for the second year in a row. I think NC State had won like 5 straight before that. So this is really nice to go back to back. We beat Stanford to bring home the hardware, and we had a home mat advantage. In fact, it was a record-setting crowd in Castle watching the event. It's hard to know where to start when we're covering this, but I'll say right off the bat, we had 8 of our 10 wrestlers in the finals, right, Brian? And these were the winners of all the different weight classes. And I believe this is also the order in which it went, because they're not in numerical order by weight, but this is the order that they did the finals. Go ahead, Sam.
Immediate question: why do they do that?
They
Why?
want more
Why is
people
there
to-
not order to
They
it?
usually start at 125. That's what they'll do at the Nationals. But Tech was so far ahead in the team race that if they started at 125 with Eddie, they would have clinched it after the first 2 weight classes. So they just TV viewership. That's my thought. They start at 57. Those 2 Tech guys that were in the finals of those 2 weights were the underdogs, and they kept the viewers watching for as long as possible.
So, and that's interesting because they probably did the right thing, because the first 3 matches we had taken 3 losses at 157, 165, and 174. Did any of those first 3 results bug you, or did that like go like you were expecting?
It was as expected. I thought Miller at 157 could have pulled the upset. Church and DeSanti at the next 2 weights were they were the lower seeds by far. They had less experience. They powered through in the semifinals. That to me, I mean, having 8 in the finals is something I've never seen in the ACC tournament. It was just remarkable. And you mentioned the crowd. That I assume that played a big role. You could see those wrestlers. They were third and 4th seeds, upsetting the semifinal guys that beat them earlier in the year. It was disappointing. You can't win every one. We got back on track with Bullock at 184, which was also an upset. And then after that, it was we just dominated from there on. It was fantastic.
The final 7 matches went much better than the first 3. We won 5 of the weights. Sasso and Seidel crushed. Now, did either of those results surprise you? Because the Sasso one, I was a little shocked by.
He looks like a different wrestler, and opposite of the coaching woes we've talked about with basketball. I mean, getting these guys that have been getting crushed at practice for months, cutting weight, getting them ready at the right time. And they talked a little bit during the broadcast about how important it is to peak at the right time. And Sasso is, I mean, he got beat by the semifinal guy pretty handily, and the guy I think it was a pick guy in the semis, and then in the finals by I believe the Stanford guy. And he dominated. He looked really good. And right before I got on this, I've been listening to the seeding podcast. He got a 4 seed in the NCAAs.
Yeah,
the
NCAA seeds just came out at 8 p.m. and Brian was all over that for us. So that was Sasso got the 4 seed. He won 12-2, and then Seidel won 18-3, and he has been coming on like a freight train. If you paid any attention to Virginia Tech wrestling, this has been a phenomenal story. And I was curious though, because Sasso wins 12-2, Seidel wins 18-3. Why did Sasso get a major decision and Seidel get a tech fall? Like, could you explain why that is?
If you win by 8 points up to 14 points, it's a major decision. You get 14 points for that victory. If you win by 15 or more, they stop. It's like a pin. They stop the match as soon as you accumulate a 15-point difference. Okay. And once you do that, it's called a tech fall. It's like a 10-run rule in baseball. They don't want one guy just out there getting 50 points on somebody.
Is that also worth 4 points on the team points?
It's 5. You get 5 points.
Okay. It just because there's still things I'm learning about the scoring going forward. I know Sam's been on this.
I don't get it. I straight up don't get it.
But I do enjoy
support the team as much as I can, but I don't get it. One thing that I did notice, and for us casual and less than casual wrestling fans, I felt like probably the first 4 or 5 that I watched, which were the first 4 or 5 championship matches, not a lot going on. A lot of standing around, a lot of feeling out, a lot of dancing with each other. They might as well have been there playing patty cake for a little bit. Is that normal of a championship match where you're just trying to feel the other guy out and make it a one moment thing?
There is a lot of strategy with how you wrestle. If you want to keep a guy down as long as possible, if you want to let him up and try to get points. I mean, Eddie won his semifinal match. He only had 2 matches in the ACCs. He got a bye to the semis, and he won in overtime. But he controlled the entire match, and he's won 5 matches now in overtime, where the score doesn't mean as much as controlling the match. And for a casual fan, you watch Eddie wrestle and you're like, why is and he's the number 2 seed, by the way, in the country. Why is the number 2 seed guy not dominating these lower guys? And he is just so good at controlling every aspect of the match, where even when he's just defending, he knows he's going to get to the overtime or the sudden death period and just do what it takes to win. Would I like to see him be a little more aggressive, to not put himself in a position where a bad call, a stalling call, or a one mistake puts him out of it? Yeah, but it's worked all season for him. Seidel, he got caught against Jax Forrest, the Oklahoma State Big 12 wrestler, who's the number 1 seed. He was up 6-2 on him in the duel, and he just kept going for takedowns, and he got stuck, and he gave up 7 points and ended up losing 10-9. So it's a mixed bag of strategy and aggression that coaching and their styles really play a big part in that.
And Ventresca, who we've seen wrestle a lot, like that, you said it, Boo, is like he controls the match. He's gonna do low scoring, and he's so comfortable in that role. And I kind of had no doubt he was gonna pull it off, but he makes it stressful. Like he does. He does make it stressful. And Bullock and Guy also won extremely close contests. Which of those 3 close ones were your favorite between Bullock, Ventresca, and Guy?
I love Bullock just because he was the underdog by far. Like, nobody was expecting him to win, and he just dug it out. He was so excited. Guy was excited too, but I just felt really good for Bullock. He's the upper weights, and Jarrett Hott, our assistant coach, has been getting just trashed on about their performance, not living up to the same hype as the lower weights. Like, just seeing those guys be successful, it felt really good. It felt good for me, and I'm sure it felt great for them and the coaches for all the work they put into getting them to where they are today.
It's interesting you say that, because it does seem as if Tech has had a lot of better, lighter wrestlers over the years, especially the last few years. And to see what Sasso's 197, Bullock's 184, that, those heavier guys win the ACCs is pretty awesome. Because, and even Jimmy Mullen, Like he got his third place match, beating Morgan from UVA, also heading to nationals. Like good for Jimmy, because we've seen him in some dogfights, and usually, when it comes to like the really big ones, he's had a hard time kind of breaking through. I'm glad to see he's going to be at nationals, and we got all 10 to go.
Yep.
Right? It wasn't looking like it might happen, but then Crook, who didn't have a great day, he did win his final match to take 5, and he qualified for the NCAAs, finishing 5th. Mullen got 3rd, and then Miller, Church, and Sergio, they all finished 2nd in their championship matches and are heading to nationals. Getting all 10 to nationals, let me put this on the screen, because this doesn't happen for a lot of schools. 6 teams qualified, all 10 starters for NCAAs. We were one of only, I think, 4 schools to get all 10 automatic qualifications. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So I think Nebraska and Iowa State got at-larges, but how impressive is it in your mind to see us get 10 wrestlers to the national championship in a year where Sam and I have said, like, it was kind of a punt year because we're waiting on Bo and we're waiting on Caleb doing his red shirt?
Well, it's very, very impressive, especially to auto qualify. You're not getting any help if you have a bad tournament and you need a at-large selection. That would just really showed how tough those 3, 4, 5 seed wrestlers on our team were to get the results that they were seeded to get to make it to the tournament. We put 10 in the NCAA last year.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't all auto qualify. They had some at-large bids. And I can't remember before then if we've done it before. I think we might have, but if we want to finish top 4, you finish top 4 as a team, you're on the podium. We did it once in 2016. That is what I think would be a great goal for this year. To your point, in a down year where we redshirted our national champion.
It's crazy, man.
That is unusual. And just one more thing. I watched this video that Robie was on back in 2009, and he talked about the 2008 team, just to show you where we've gotten from then. 2008, we qualified 1 guy to nationals. We scored 0 points at nationals that year. Yeah. Fast forward to now, we have 10 guys qualify. We have a 2 seed and 3 4 seeds. That is an improbable program turnaround. It's amazing.
These were the rankings. This is Intermat and Flow, and Virginia Tech Wrestling put this out on Twitter and Instagram. But if you can read this, you can see how many guys are up there. I mean, Colin Guy's a top 5 wrestler. Sonny Sasso, top 5 in one of those rankings. Eddie Ventresca, top 2 in both. And that kind of leads me to the next question, Brian, is how many of our guys could win a national title this season? Is it 1 guy? Is it maybe 3 guys? Because Seidel won most outstanding wrestler at ACCs. Does he have a shot? Like, what are your thoughts there in terms of national title contenders?
You look at the seeding and top 8 seeds. Mackay won it. He was an 8 seed. Caleb won it. He was a 4 seed. You want to get to the semis. You get to the semis, it's the 4 seed versus most likely the 1 seed. And then we'll see what happens. But you're a top 4 seed. Your quarterfinal match is going to be versus a 5th seed if you're a 4 seed and a 7th seed if you're a 2 seed. Realistically, if you can push 2 wrestlers to the semis, that would be a good. We would be underperforming our seeds just to do that. But having 2 in the semis would be really, really impressive. And a national championship is anything can happen in the semifinals. And I would be ecstatic if we had a national champion this year.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie seems like the one just because of his ranking and where he was last year and some of the guys he's beaten in his career. But it's not going to be easy. And Penn State, I mean, you look at what happened in the Big Ten tournament, and Penn State's, they're bringing the heat again, and almost in just about every class, we're going to be going up against someone from over there. I still like let's talk a little bit about Seidel, because I'm curious about where do you think he can go? Do you think eventually he can be in the short list of national title contenders at Virginia Tech? Because I feel like he's just getting better and better every time he wrestles.
I think he could win it this year. If I was to pick one person,
really,
who I've seen wrestle that wrestle against the number 1 seed Jax Forrest and have 3 takedowns against him, nobody else has touched him all season. He lost by 1 point.
1 point.
Took him down 3 times. He looks like the real deal. He's tech falling top 10 ranked guys. That is something you don't see a lot.
Yeah. He's been a really fun story, as has Jaden Bullock. He's been a fun story as well. But yeah, those were our champions: Jaden Bullock, Sonny Sasso, Eddie Ventresca, Aaron Seidel, and Colin Guy. Really fun stuff. And Colin Guy was wrestling in Caleb's place, right? Because was Caleb at 149 last year?
Yep.
Yeah.
149. So something's going to have to happen there. I don't know what.
I know, man. That's really tough. But I think that just about rounds it up. Did you have any final thoughts for Brian there, Sam? Because I'm just trying to.
No, I'm excited to watch these guys at nationals. I mean, it's just the fact that that they thought a year ahead like they did for this year, and they're still ACC champs by a wide margin. I was looking back at this. I don't believe any sports program at Virginia Tech has ever won 3 consecutive conference titles. I know for a fact it's not happened in the ACC. They've had back-to-backs before, but I don't believe they've ever had a 3-peat team title in the ACC. And
damn,
it certainly looks like they'll be favored next year to win the ACC. And so, I mean, that's such an incredible accomplishment to even get a 2-peat for a conference title. But
I know,
to get a 2-peat and then be setting yourself up for a 3-peat as well, dude, Tony Robie, take a bow, man.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Like this.
Well, they have a whole staff. From my understanding, is they have a whole staff of.
Well, Freyer's still on the staff, right? I mean, they've obviously got a nice staff who knows how to develop. But like when we lost Hippolito, and they told us that Caleb's going to sit out, a couple other new guys, I'm like, this kind of sucks. And they just did not skip a beat. In fact, they may finish better in the NCAAs this year than they did last year. And so it's just so impressive. So so when is that? Is that the same weekend as March Madness? Is that when it starts?
Yes.
Okay. Or is it all one weekend for wrestling?
Thursday through Sunday.
Yes, that's right. In Cleveland, Thursday through Sunday in next weekend, I believe.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Brian, thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping us out with this like you have in the past. And once nationals get going, we might have to call on you for some emergency podcasting. We win a natty, might have to do some celebrating on the show. but in any case, man, it was good chatting with you, and thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. All right, bud?
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Later.
Thanks,
dude.
Brian.
See.
All right, Sammy. Baseball? You want to move to that now?
Yeah, I mean, we might as well.
Okay.
It's been not a great start to this season. And we can kind of set the scene for everybody. This was a really interesting year for Virginia Tech. A lot of roster turnover. Felt like they got what we believe to be one of the most talented rosters that John Sheff has had. Did a great job in the portal, has had a couple of really good high school recruiting classes come in. We felt like this was maybe the most talent that he'd accumulated. That 2022 team was stacked, but they weren't very deep pitching. This is a deep pitching team in terms of potential MLB prospects. And right now they sit at 8-7. They dropped the series at Georgia Tech, who is a national title contending team. They dropped that 1-2. Were able to get the Sunday win, which we'll talk about, but a midweek loss to Marshall, and then going 0-3 in Texas against 3 powerhouses from the SEC. It was a really rough week for Virginia Tech baseball. And just to kind of zoom out a little bit, it's a long season, but the start is not what we had hoped for in Blacksburg.
Yeah, we're 8-7. We won that final game of the series against number 5 Georgia Tech, and that did feel really big. Like, I think you're going to probably go into this a little bit more, but like, how big was that? It was as big as it felt.
Well, yes, and I want to point people in this direction. Like, I'm going to pull up something like my road to Omaha, which is really a road to the NCAA regionals, to be honest. And part of that is you just kind of have to hold serve in a conference like the ACC that is so stacked. The ACC has, I believe, 7 teams in the top 15 right now. I think it's a very, very loaded top-loaded conference at this point, which it didn't look like it was going to be that to start the year. And you just needed to get one in Atlanta. If you could get one game in Atlanta and avoid the sweep, you'd be okay. They did that on Sunday. They made an interesting decision pitching the freshman Ethan Grimm in the Friday game, who had just pitched the game on Tuesday against Marshall. So you have a true freshman on 4 days rest pitching against the unequivocally best offense in the country in Georgia Tech. Like, without a doubt, the best offense in the country. He got shelled, right? And that was a really interesting coaching decision. I can guesstimate at what the odds of that were, but that's what they went for. It didn't really work. They went with Renfro on Saturday. He pitched well, but the offense didn't perform. Griffin Stig went and pitched really well on Sunday, and Virginia Tech got the win. They finally got the clutch hits they needed in that one as well.
So, yeah, we still won there, and that helps. Was there any, like, you talked about the games against the SEC teams and maybe dropping a couple that we didn't think we would. Have there been any, like, really damaging losses so far of the 7 that are like, oh crap, this is going to haunt us?
So everybody loses midweek games in baseball. Everybody does. The teams that win national titles will lose 1 or 2 midweek games that they shouldn't lose. Virginia Tech lost 1 to Marshall, and quite frankly, they lost in embarrassing fashion, 13-4 at home. They gave up close to 20 hits. The game, I mean, they were getting shelled left and right. It was really bad. It happens. You move on. Right now, though, that is a bit of a resume hit for Virginia Tech. Looking in terms of quads, so baseball is moving its way into what men's basketball is with quads and net rankings.
No, don't do it.
Don't do it. Well, that was a quad 4 loss. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just mean like some parts of the quad system just annoy me with basketball. But I understand you need metrics in order to like assess.
And this
these
team
things.
is look, they're 8-7. 5 of their losses are against teams that are ranked in the top 20 in net.
Wow. Okay.
Like that's like, and you played 3 of the last 3 teams that have played in the last 4 national titles. And then the other team you lost 2 games to is a consensus top 5 team that if they don't make it to Omaha will be a colossal failure.
Well, I want to take the next couple of minutes and kind of do a mini baseball season preview here. We've already had 15 games and we're talked a little bit about the schedule, but like before the season and after last season, heck, for years, a lot was made of needing a new pitching coach.
Mm-hmm.
We finally hired one.
Yep.
The early returns.
Not great. Not great. So they brought in Doug Wiley from Xavier, and he had experience in the SEC as a coach. He had experience with the Chicago Cubs and had a decent track record for a young pitching coach. And they brought, like, I think people are going to think I'm lying to them. This is the deepest, most talented pitching staff John Sheff has ever had at Virginia Tech. And they just, the confidence level hasn't been there. And I think what happened was they were getting their feet under them. They played a pretty good offensive team in Rutgers. That's a series at home that they did win 2-1, but that's a good offensive team that Rutgers has. they got hit on a little bit in the first couple games of that series. I think some guys lost some confidence because after that, they play Texas A&M, that first game in Texas. And the Aggies that was 10-0 in a heartbeat, and they ruled it.
Yeah.
And after that, I think guys started to say, oh, crap, we might be out of our league. Because then you play Mississippi State, who has the most expensive roster in college baseball history. And then you play Tennessee.
I'm sorry, what?
Powerhouse.
They have the most expensive roster in college baseball history, at least believed to be so.
And the best coach in college baseball, Brian O'Connor, who they got from UVA. Yeah.
At Mississippi State.
At Mississippi State. Yeah.
That's just bizarre.
I
don't follow this like you do. I'm shocked by that.
One of the reasons Mississippi State isn't good at football is because they love baseball. They have the best stadium. Wild. They have the best coach. They have the best roster. Yeah. It's crazy. Wait till you learn about Southern Miss baseball, who's number 1 in the country. Right? Yeah. Just wait.
Are they really number 1?
They probably should be. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, they lost confidence and then played elite teams, and that's never going to work out. And they just need to get that confidence back. I think they pitched really well at points against Georgia Tech, who's a very, very good offense. They have the week off. The pitching is going to get better. Right now, it's not good, though. Like, they got a ways to go. They're 265th in ERA. Point blank. 265.
Well, is there something to the effect of, when you get like a new boss at work, and even if your work is identical, there's still different critiques that come through. You have to change your certain styles. Like, do you think that's affecting Brett Renfroe and some of these other guys?
Maybe. I think early season always takes a little bit to get in the groove. Brett Renfroe, when he's on, he's really good. He has a tendency, though, to throw some really spicy looking meatballs down the middle of the plate. And all of those have been hit out for home runs, and early home runs have really hurt him this year. And then you have guys like Preston Crowell, who had all ACC potential as a reliever. He's one of those guys that when he's on, he's unhittable. When he's off, you can't pitch him. And he went off for a little bit. Chase Swift, another guy. I think he outed 13 of 14 batters and then headed into Texas and got peppered. And it's like, damn, like at the wrong time. But there's a lot of talent on this pitching staff, and they should get back Madden Clement, who had surgery during last season. So they should get him back either as a starter or as a long inning relief guy. That would be really good. And they have some strikeout stuff at the back of the bullpen as well. And Luke Crater, who is their de facto closer as well. So they got some guys. Brody Rowe, a transfer from Kansas State, has been pitching pretty well. They're going to be a better pitching team than they look right now. But they've got to figure it out because we got UVA up next, and that's a pretty damn good offense they have there.
We're going to get to your road to Omaha in a second. Let me put up what was the lineup against Rutgers. And I'm using this as a point of reference because this was back on February 20th. This was the starting lineup. And I put this up here as some general information. For example, here's a question I have for you. Who's the best player on this team? And we'll go with best position player because we talked a little bit about the pitchers already.
It's interesting. I would say right off the bat, Trayson Hughes. He's been the center fielder. He has a lot of potential. He is as close to a 5-tool player as Virginia Tech has right now. But the true freshman, Ethan Ball, this guy came in, and John Sheff said he's the most ACC-ready freshman he's had. He's had a lot of really good freshmen. Wow. This guy, he's second on the team in batting average. He's hitting, let me make sure I get my numbers right, but he's hitting 379. He has started all 15 games. He leads the team with 3 home runs. He's slugging over 600. Issue is he has struck out 18 times in 15 games, which you wouldn't love. But he's a good fielder, can play a couple different positions. Great bat speed on the base paths if they need it. I think in terms of like MLB prospect talent, Ethan Ball is up there, man. He's up there with Carson DeMartini, Jack Hurley, those type of guys. Tanner Schobel, Gavin Cross that Virginia Tech has put in the league. He's tool-wise, he's up there.
So, and I recently did this because I wanted to see, has this lineup kind of developed and changed? Now we have Ethan as a DH in this lineup, so that obviously can change from time to time.
One thing that will change is Clay Grady should be coming back. He broke his wrist a couple of weeks before the season. He's your starting shortstop team captain. He'll come in and play shortstop. And so you'll be able to move around some guys and have a few other options at DH once he comes back.
I was going to ask you who the best up and comer is, but it sounds like you already answered that question.
Well, Leo, let's see. Ethan Grimm, the pitcher, right? So he pitched on Friday. Didn't look great. Another Ethan, yeah. Virginia Tech has had a tendency in the past to have a lot of guys with the same name, and it's Ethan now. Because there's also Ethan Gibson at second base.
You're right. They have had some double names for sure.
Yeah. He's got good stuff, man, as a freshman pitcher. And I think what people need to realize as well is the jump from high school baseball to college baseball at the ACC level is, I would argue, one of the biggest of any sport from high school to college in terms of the skill needed to succeed. Like the difference between hitting a fastball in high school and hitting a fastball in college baseball is crazy.
And the ACC, if people aren't aware, is a good baseball conference.
Yeah, and you're it's right up there with it's tied with the SEC in my mind. And Ethan Grimm was pitching to guys for Georgia Tech, Drew Burris, their center fielder, Von Lackey, who played Von Lackey for Georgia Tech played 8 positions in their last game just for funsies. That's how good of a baseball player he was. Okay. In 8 innings, 8 positions in 8 innings.
That's awesome.
Like you're pitching against guys who could be playing AA baseball right now. Like Drew Burris could be starting on a AA team for your favorite major league team. So the jump is pretty big. He's going to be okay and do it. Ethan Ball, Ethan Grimm are going to be good. They have a few other guys that they feel confident about. Anderson French is a younger player. He can play first. He can play catcher. He can DH. He's a big guy at like 6'6". He's one of the few power bats on this team. And this team lacks power, which has been one of their issues this year. And Anderson French is a guy who has a little bit of pop in his bat.
And is Brett Renfro still the best pitcher on the team?
Overall, I would say yes. He has 5 pitches that he throws really well. It's just about can he avoid that meatball pitch? Mm-hmm. If he can, he's really good at inducing ground balls. He can go deep into a game. A lot of college pitchers, once they get to the 3rd time in the lineup, start to struggle because they only can really throw 2 or 3 pitches effectively. Brett Renfro can throw 5 effectively. And so he is a guy who can go through the lineup a 3rd time. Which is why he's your Friday starter, because he can go a little deeper into games and save your bullpen. I think he's the best guy. He's going to hit his stride. He's got the stuff.
All right, let's pull up the graphic now because I want to talk about the rest of the season. This is Sam's road to Omaha here. How far behind the initial projections are we?
We're a couple games behind. And let me preface this with the way that I've had this for the last couple years. And the way that I get to this is how you make a regional is since COVID, only 3 teams have gone 500 or better in the ACC and not made the NCAA tournament. Only 3. And the ACC has had 8 to 9 every year since then. Those teams, every one of those teams has either had a colossally awful non-conference like UVA last year and or not played a series due to illness, weather, etc. in the ACC. So they just missed an entire. So if you go 500 or better in the ACC, you're making a regional.
As long as you just don't fall completely on your face out of conference.
Lord willing and the creek don't rise, you're making the NCAA regionals. And so that's kind of what I've built this around. So I tried to, if you're watching on YouTube, this will make a lot more sense. You have 2 season opening series against Rutgers and William and Mary. You play 3 games each weekend, go 5-1 in those. Virginia Tech did that. That's a check mark. Good job. Then Virginia Tech had a midweek game, one of their midweeks at JMU. They won that game. That's great. The next section I have is that trip to Texas. You play Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Tennessee. I would have liked to have seen them win one of those games. That would have been a great resume builder. They did not. They went 0-2. So they're behind one big resume bullet point in that one.
0-3. Yeah.
And then you have the midweek drop to Marshall. Virginia Tech will play Marshall again on the road later in the season, but that's a bad midweek loss right there.
And you're only affording us 2 midweek losses. You want us to go 12-2 at midweeks. And so we've already got one.
Midweeks, and you've already lost one. So you got one more to play with. Now they do have a win against East Tennessee State. And to somebody who doesn't follow college baseball, you're like, East Tennessee State, who the hell cares? That's a good baseball program. They make regionals most years. That team won 40 plus games last year. That's going to be a good win for the Hokies. So VCU is going to be a good team this year. Liberty is going to be a good team this year. We'll see what Marshall looks like. I don't know, but
Richmond Hokies, go to the VCU game.
Yes, go to the VCU game, root on the Hokies in that one. The Rams are decent this year. So those midweeks, 14 total that I put in the midweeks, you want to go 12-2. Right now, Virginia Tech is 2-1 in those.
So a long way to go with those. Long way to go. The next section I call them the we get them in Blacksburg. These are against NC State and Clemson. Really talented teams, going to be top 25, but you get them in Blacksburg. Can you go 3-3 in those 6 games? Can you win one of those series, or can you sweep one of them? It's a tall task, but that's what makes a regional team. You got to punch above your weight. NC State and Clemson are both very good, but I think Virginia Tech in Blacksburg can find a way to win one of those series. Okay. Next, I have tough ACC road tests. A lot of these come early in the season, but you're playing Georgia Tech, UVA, and Miami, all top 25 teams, and you're all playing them on the road. Can you win one game in each of those? Can you go 3-6? They did it.
They won one of them in Atlanta, and that's the toughest one. So you got one of them. You travel to UVA next week. UVA has this tendency the last couple of years of being a bit of a roller coaster. They'll look really, really good, and then they'll look really, really bad. It hurt them last year. They didn't make the regionals. Personally, I think they definitely should have. But they aren't – you never quite know what you're going to get from the Wahoos. Can you win one game in Charlottesville? And then when you go down to Coral Gables against a really good offensive team in Miami, can you win one of those games? If you go 3-6 out of there, you're going to have some resume bullet points in your favor.
Nice. Okay.
And then you have what I'm calling the Battle of Midway, which
I get it.
In mid, I mean mid kind of in a positive sense of this is the battle for the middle of the ACC, which the ACC is going to get 8 or 9 teams in. So it's really going to be a battle between what I think is going to be Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Cal, Boston College, Miami. Those teams are going to be really fighting for regional bids. So Virginia Tech will have games against Duke, Stanford, Pitt, Cal, and Boston College. Those are the
and
other
some
weekends.
of those are at home and some are away.
Some are on the road, some are at home. I believe they get Duke, Stanford, and Pitt are at home, and Cal and Boston College are on the road.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Pitt is spring game weekend for those interested. 15 games. Can you go 10-5? 3 of those series are at home. Can you go 10-5 in those? I think Virginia Tech's a better team than Duke, Stanford, Pitt, Cal, and Boston College.
So you got to win. You got to win 4 of those series, maybe 3 of those series.
Yeah. Can you win? Can you win games in those series? Can you find a sweep one weekend? Mm-hmm. Avoid getting swept is really the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A sweep or not getting sweep is going to be the difference. probably there.
Mhm.
This was great. That's a good breakdown on.
Yeah, it's a long season, and I think people can overreact really easily. And
Well,
I'll
we
be
love that.
honest, and I'll tell you, I've gotten so many tweets about this team sucks. You got to fire John Sheff. You got to do all this. Look, the start to the season hasn't been good enough. I know it. The players know it. John Sheff certainly knows it. Like, it's not a secret that they have not been very good to start this season. John Sheff, after the Marshall game, he said he usually does a post game team talk right outside the dugout. He took them back to the baseball facility for this one after Marshall. And he said, quote, I had to tell him some things that I couldn't say in the dugout.
Right.
Yeah. This team has lacked confidence for the last 10 plus days. That win at Georgia Tech, Pete, was so big because that's such a good Georgia Tech team. And Virginia Tech has really been, I feel like this is a classic Virginia Tech sports. They've been like one base hit away every freaking inning. They get two guys on base every inning. It's incredible. And they can't drive them home. So far this season, Virginia Tech has left 133 players on base in 15 games.
That seems like a lot.
That's a lot.
That seems like an awful lot. That's like, what, 10 a game, 9 a game?
Yes. And their opponents have only left 119. That's a stat that Virginia Tech is losing. And I can't tell you how many of those are guys in the running and scoring position. How many games that they've been 2 of 14 with runners in scoring position. Like, they're one hit away, and the results haven't been there. A lot. It has way more to do with confidence than it does talent. Talent-wise, this is a regional team. Talent-wise, this is the best team they've had since 2022. So if they can get the confidence under their belt, if they can just keep putting together hard-fought innings, win some games here or there is a roadmap for them to make a regional in a really tough conference again, which would be an astounding success for a program that not so long ago finished dead last in the ACC 3 straight years.
Yeah. And it's miles different from then, but I think you're right in the sense of just knowing sports the way we do, like getting that win against the top 5 team after what was just a bleak week and a half.
It was so tough, man.
That is important. Like, that is really important. And now you're going into a series against your in-state rival. And if you somehow win the UVA series, like, now you're off.
Oh, you're going to be feeling good, but they got a long way to go. They have to play better. The good news is it's not things like they're not having fielding errors that much. They've had a couple of base running errors, but nothing too drastic.
Mm-hmm.
It really is just like that one last clutch base hit or giving up a hit with 2 strikes and 2 outs. Like, they're right there. I think they're going to get there. They're a well-coached team overall. I think strategically the pitching staff is in a better place. I think they're going to be okay. Long season left to go.
That's a good breakdown on baseball, Hokie ball, as it once was. Sam used to do the
Unfortunately,
podcast.
the Blacksburg Bombers have like not a lot of power hitting. So it's going to be like the Blacksburg Bunters or something like that.
Let's talk about softball quickly here. 22-2 is official now. They got the win today. We were joking about that earlier.
Coach DeMore, that's on me. Hand up. I apologize for a typo in the article tweet that said 22-2 before you played the game today against Elon. That's my bad. Thank you for making me correct at the end of the day.
It was like 3 hours before the result that we said they had 22 wins, but 22-2 is unbelievable. A lot of 2s. They've won 15 in a row, beat Elon today. They swept the Hokie Invite this past weekend, and this upcoming weekend, they got a top 25 matchup against Duke, who is number 25. This is getting exciting for the girls. They've beaten some very good teams already. They got a top 25 matchup this weekend. This team has some potential, Sam. They've got some potential.
I believe it's the best start in school history,
It is,
2022.
I think so.
I can't imagine much better, to be honest. And they've done it against good competition. They're winning in different. I think in prior years they've relied so much on pitching,
Yeah.
and it just hasn't been sustainable throughout the year. This year they just feel really well rounded, and Mike Turner, who writes for our softball team, does an incredible job. Has kind of been saying offline, they're just they look so in control of every game. Even when they're down, it's like they'll go down a couple runs, next inning, immediately get 4 or 5 base hits. Like they just every game, they seem to be on the front foot.
They're
And that's
inevitable right now. Yeah.
yeah, and that's playing SEC teams on the road. That's playing Michigan, who was like a super regional team last year. Like really, really good stuff.
It's awesome. Hopefully they can finally punch through this year and get to the World Series. Oklahoma City, right? That's where they
Yes,
play
Oklahoma
the
City.
women's.
Yeah, they really picked some destination cities for baseball and softball.
The spring game time was announced as the final thing we'll mention. 3 p.m. start for the spring game on April 18th. That is awesome. That's what we wanted to hear.
Gives that makes logistically, that's great for me, Pete.
Yes, you're going to be able to finish your run, get cleaned up, head over to the tailgate, and we will have a good old time up on Chicken Hill. I was texting with Terror Dan, or Dan Poltz as it is, over at Tales from the Terror Dome, and Brian Siegler of Boundary Corner, and we are working on the details. We're working on the menu over at the tailgate as well.
Oh,
some good stuff. Stephen Wright normally does a really good job with the food over there. So yeah, things are coming together. Sam, I'll loop you in on some of that. But I am so jacked up. It's 3:00 game. Now we just need the weather. We got the time. We got a good weekend. Now we need the weather.
Whatever God you pray to, whatever rain dance you do, let's do it. Let's get some sunshine in Blacksburg.
Yes, indeed. That's going to do it for the show. Thank you to Brian for coming on, helping us with wrestling. ACC champs, can't beat that. That's awesome. Thank you to Sam for knowing everything there is to know about Hokie ball. And it was fun talking about the boys. The basketball team, it as I said last night, like I will remember parts of this season like in a fond light, but it was a lot of like I'll never forget 3 overtimes over UVA without 2 starters. Like I won't forget that. That was freaking amazing. But that wasn't even this year. That wasn't even in 2026. Like that's the last time we had a break.
What are we going to be doing a podcast next week that's talking about being excited for an NIT run? Are we that sick of individuals, Pete?
I don't know if we can do it. I don't know. I know there was some talk about like kind of a round table about the basketball program with, the guys from Hokie Hoops, maybe BRM, maybe you and myself, Robert, there was some talk about that. Yeah. Maybe that will happen sometime during the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure.
We round table, Mar-a-Lago, maybe play some golf, do a couple pressers.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Six wide on StreamYard, maybe.
Look, I think if they could win a few games in the NIT, I think just mentally for those players, it would help so much going into the offseason.
I haven't even thought about us going to the NIT.
It's so hard
hasn't even crossed my mind.
Like just play some hoops. Like beat Quinnipiac or something like that. I don't know.
I remember we were down at Brian's bachelor party like years and years ago, and Tech was playing in the NIT against BYU. And I remember we went to a bar and we're like, can we get the NIT on in this place? Like, because we were trying to watch the game. Because we were with early days of Buzz. It might have been Buzz's first or second season. And it was like good to be in the NIT. We were like happy to be there because it's like we're building towards something. A little bit different this year.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, regardless, cheers to the effort. Cheers to the baseball team getting back on track. Cheers to softball being kick ass as always. And cheers to wrestling with potentially the greatest punt season in wrestling history.
If they parlay this into a top 5 finish at nationals, that will be absolutely unbelievable. But that'll do it for the show. Make sure you subscribe. Sons of Saturday on YouTube, Too Deep on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Set us up for automatic downloads on there and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you have the time. It's quick, it's easy, and it helps us out. And until next time, when we may be watching some NCAA tournament basketball or some more baseball, who knows? Go Hokies.